Hi, we're talking about college student taxes today and answering your questions. Specifically, the question that I've been asked is, what is this Form 1098-T and what do I do with it when I'm preparing my tax return? So I'm doing a small series of videos answering your tax questions. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you have access to the rest of the videos. And if you have any questions about taxes, put them in the comments below so I can make a video answering your tax question. Hi, my name is Steve Hunt. I'm a certified public accountant, and I'm also the consultant for prosperity and adventure. And I'm the expert at helping people like you reach your dreams faster. I'm also the owner of collegetaxrefunds.com, where we help recent college students and their parents or families claim the tax refunds and credits that they missed on their old tax returns, and they don't even realize they missed this money. So if you have a recent college student in your family, please have them check out collegetaxrefunds.com to see if they missed money on an old tax return that we can help them collect. So today, as I said, I want to talk to you about Form 1098-T and answer your question about what do you do with this form when your university or college gives it to you, and how do you use it to prepare your taxes. And this is a very important form for college students. It allows you to claim the very valuable American Opportunity Tax Credit, especially if you're an undergraduate college student. And that credit can be worth up to $2,500 on your taxes, which means that you can get $2,500 back or reduce your tax that you owe by $2,500. Or your parents can reduce their taxes by $2,500 if you were their dependent. And that's a very valuable tax credit. And even if you didn't pay taxes during the year, or even if your parents didn't pay taxes during the year, you can still use this education credit to get up to $1,000 refunded to you that you didn't even pay. So make sure that whoever's preparing your taxes knows that you're a student and has access to this Form 1098-T that you got from your college or university. Now, I want to show you what this form looks like really quickly. And some of you may be asking, how do I get this 1098-T if my college or university didn't even give it to me? So if you don't have one, go ahead and Google the name of your college or university and Form 1098-T. That should link you to your financial account page with your college. You're going to have to log in and get access to your finances. You'll probably see some statements about how much you paid in tuition and so forth. And somewhere on that page, there'll be a link for tax documents or year-end statements or other documents like that. You may even just say Form 1098-T. That's what you're looking for. Find that year-end Form 1098-T and give that to whoever's preparing your taxes. It'll look like this. Now, if you still can't find it, I encourage you to call your university, talk to the financial office, the finances office, the bursar, and ask them, how do I get access to my 1098-T? Once again, anybody who was a student in last year, 2020, this is a 2021 form, so this is for next year, but you'll get a 2020 form for your 2020 taxes. You'll get one for each year that you're a student. Now, take a look here. On this form, it has the name of your college or university. It has your own name as the student and your address. And then in box 1, it shows how much you paid during the year to your college or university for tuition and related expenses, such as fees and other required supplies. And this number is important because that's what you use to calculate the education credits that I talked about a minute ago, up to $2,500. So you'll want to know especially that number in box 1, payments for tuition and related expenses. You will also add to that amount when you enter this number into your tax software, or when your CPA enters it into their tax software. You'll add to that amount the amount you paid for required books and other supplies and materials. Such as maybe a computer if you had to buy one for class, or, like I say, other required supplies. You won't add your living expenses, your food, your rent, or your transportation or healthcare costs. Those are not required. Those are non-qualified expenses. Down lower on the Form 1098-T, there's a box for scholarships and grants that you received in the year. This is important because the scholarships and grants are treated in a special way for tax purposes. I'm going to get into that in just a second. This is the part that TurboTax doesn't do right all the time, and most CPAs don't even do this correctly, I'm sorry to say. I wish that they would, and so I'm going to explain what I mean in just a minute, but you're going to want to pay attention to the part about what to do with your scholarships and grants, because most software and most tax preparers don't do it correctly. Moving on, there's an important box here that is checked if you're a half-time student at least. That means that you took usually at least 2 classes at one time at your college or university. And there's another box that is checked if you're a graduate student. So you've already completed your first 4-year degree or certificate, and now you're a graduate student. If you're a graduate student, you won't be able to qualify for that very valuable American Opportunity Tax Credit of up to $2,500 that I mentioned earlier, but you can still qualify for the Lifetime Learning Credit, which is up to $2,000. You need to be at least a half-time student in order to qualify for that valuable American Opportunity Credit. And if you're not a half-time student, you can still qualify for that Lifetime Learning Credit. Finally, there are some other boxes here that usually won't affect your taxes too much. So I'm going to move on to what to do with this information. Once again, you're going to simply enter all of the information from your 1098-T into TurboTax or whatever other software you're using. And if you have a tax preparer, you're going to hand that information over to them. Now, here's a key thing for all of you who are undergraduate students. That means that you have not yet completed your first 4 years. You haven't gotten a 4-year certificate or degree. Okay? For you undergraduate students, you should receive at least $800 as your American Opportunity Tax Credit for 4 years of education. This could be your first 4 years of education, or if you are an undergraduate student for 6 or 7 years, as many people are today because they take breaks, or simply because if you start school in the fall and then later you graduate in the spring, that could mean that you were a student for 5 calendar years, the fall of 1 year, and then 3 whole years, and then the spring of the 5th year. And so in that case, you will be able to claim the valuable American Opportunity Tax Credit for only 4 of those 5 years. You can claim that credit of $2,500 up to 4 times. And I'm going to say this again. For almost every student out there, there are a few exceptions, you should be eligible to claim the $800 at least on your tax return. Or if you're a dependent of your parents, and this is important, if you're a dependent of your parents, they claim that American Opportunity Tax Credit of anywhere from, like I say, $800 to $2,500. You can only claim it a total of 4 times. So if your parents claimed it on their tax return twice, and now you're independent from them, you can only claim it 2 more times. If they claimed it once, you can claim it 3, and so forth. Now, you want to make sure that you don't try to claim the American Opportunity Tax Credit too many times. That can get you in trouble with the IRS. So check with your parents how many times they claimed it before you claim it on your own taxes. But once again, every student, I'm saying this again because this is what gets missed, and this is what many CPAs and tax preparers don't do correctly, every student should qualify for that valuable American Opportunity Tax Credit of at least $800 4 times, with a very few exceptions. And many tax preparers, when they hear me say that, are going to say, oh yeah, that's whenever your scholarships or your grants are more than your tuition. If you have too much scholarships or grants, you can't claim the education credit, the American Opportunity Tax Credit. That's incorrect. Okay? So I'm going to explain why that is in just a minute. But first, let's talk about all of these options here and what you do with this information after you've entered the 1098-T into TurboTax or given it to your tax preparer. So really quickly, I want to point out that there's a publication called Publication 970, Tax Benefits for Education, that is 95 pages long. It's different number of pages every year, and they produce this publication every year. It changes. And it talks about all the different education-related benefits and credits. I'm not going to go into detail on every one of them here, but I want you to be aware of how very complicated student taxes are, and how complicated it is to figure out exactly what to do with your tuition and what to do with your scholarships or grants. And that's why I advise you to get some professional assistance. And I've already said that many tax preparers, unfortunately, don't exactly know how to serve college students because many college students don't use professional tax preparers. They don't hire CPAs. As a result, many tax preparers and CPAs don't know what to do when they get a student who has received scholarships or grants. All right, let me explain what I mean. In Chapter 1 of Tax Benefits for Education, it talks about what to do with scholarships and grants. And it basically says that a scholarship or a grant is typically not taxable in the amount up to what you paid for qualified school expenses, qualified tuition and related expenses. That's that number in box 1. So if you paid $5,000 in tuition and you paid another $1,000 in required books, that's your $6,000 of qualified education expenses. And your first $6,000 of scholarships then are generally not taxable. Now here's the problem. And this is where people get this wrong, especially tax preparers and CPAs, or even tax preparers and CPAs. That $6,000 of scholarship, if you choose to not pay tax on it, then you cannot claim the American Opportunity Tax Credit. But you can choose to pay tax on some of those scholarships and grants, and then you can claim the valuable credit, and that is usually better. It's better to get an $800 credit back on your taxes or a $2,500 credit back on your taxes than it is to get free scholarships and the tax-free scholarships and grants. So that's where people mess up. Right here, there's this section that says a scholarship or grant is tax-free only if you're a candidate for a degree and you can exclude up to the amount, up to the extent that it doesn't exceed your qualified education expenses. That's what I was talking about just a second ago. That scholarship is tax-free up to those $6,000 I was talking about that you paid in tuition and books and required expenses. Now, it says right here, this is the tip that I'm emphasizing again because so many people miss it. You may be able to increase the combined value of an education credit and certain educational assistance if the student includes some or all of the scholarships, that's the education assistance, in income in the year it is received. And then you are to see the examples in coordination with Pell Grants and other scholarships in chapters 2 and 3. Once again, that's the tip that many tax preparers are unaware of and don't know how to do correctly. So what you will then want to do here, it's the American Opportunity Credit that is explained in chapter 2. This is that very valuable credit up to $2,500 that I've already said nearly every single undergraduate student should claim. $800 4 times. And the way they will do this, even if their scholarships and grants are more than their tuition, is they will include a portion of their scholarships or grants in their taxable income on the wages line. I'm giving information now to the tax preparers who are watching. It's very specific information. If you enter the amount of scholarships and grants that you want to include in taxable income on the other income page of your tax software, where it says taxable scholarships or taxable scholarships and grants, that number will appear on the wages line, that's I think line 1, of the 1040. And now some of your scholarships or grants have been taxed, which now lets you claim the American Opportunity Tax Credit, the valuable $800 to $2,500 credit, even if your scholarships or grants were as much as or more than your tuition. And that's what every student should do for 4 years. So let's take a look at how you actually claim that valuable education credit with your 1098-T. I'm now looking at the Form 8863. If you are using tax software that automatically fills out your tax forms, you're not going to need to know how to fill out this form. But if you're doing it by hand, this is the form you'll use to claim any of the education credits. The American Opportunity Tax Credit that you can claim for 4 years of up to $2,500, or the Lifetime Learning Credit, which you can claim in all the other years that you're a student, of up to $2,000. On the education credits page, Form 8863, you will fill out on page 2 the name of the student and the educational institution. You will mark the boxes that say that you have not already claimed this credit 4 times, that you have not already graduated with a 4-year credit or degree, and that you have not been convicted of a felony drug possession during the year or at any time before the end of the year. And by the way, I want to point out that you are allowed to claim this American Opportunity Tax Credit even if you graduated with your 4-year degree during the tax year, as long as you had not finished your 4-year credit or degree, your 4-year credential or your 4-year certificate or your 4-year degree before the tax year started, but you graduated in the middle of the year, you can still claim this credit. Once again, you can't claim it more than 4 times though. If you forgot to claim it in previous years, or you didn't realize that you could claim it because your scholarships and grants were too high, that's what we do at collegetaxrefunds.com. We look back at old tax returns to see if you missed these education credits because your scholarships or grants were not included in your income. So you can go back, and I'll talk about how to do this in just a second, and you can amend or fix your old tax returns to claim this valuable tax credit if you missed it in previous years so that you get it. At the bottom of this page 2, you'll fill out how much tuition and related expenses, books, and required supplies that you had during the year, up to $4,000. That's the maximum amount you can put on this line. And then you will claim the up to $2,500 American Opportunity Credit right here on line 30. It flows to the first page of this Form 8863, where you determine how much of that $2,500 you're actually allowed to get based on how much tax you owe to the government. If you owe tax, you can get up to $2,500 back. If you don't owe any tax, you can get up to $1,000 back. And then also, if you don't qualify for the American Opportunity Tax Credit, you can then claim the Lifetime Learning Credit, which you will also put at the bottom of page 2 right here. This is for any graduate students, any students who were not at least half-time students, any students who were not pursuing a full-time degree, a 4-year degree, and also any students who've already claimed the American Opportunity Tax Credit 4 times. They are eligible for this Lifetime Learning Credit up to $2,000, but only if you actually owed money. Now, I want to be clear who gets the credit in any of these cases. The student claims the credit only if the student is filing their own taxes independent and they are not claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return. If you're a student and you're claimed as a dependent on someone else's taxes, on your parents' taxes, it's your parents who get this, any of these education credits. Only the one who claims the student as a dependent may claim the American Opportunity Tax Credit or the Lifetime Learning Credit. Now, I want to point out where these credits are claimed on the Form 1040. So once you have filed your, or filled out your 8863, on page 2 of the 1040, you'll see the amount for the American Opportunity Credit from Form 8863 on line 29. And you'll also see on the schedule for, I apologize here, the Schedule 3. I did not call up Schedule 3 to show you, but on Schedule 3, there's a line for Education Credit. Education Credit is where you report the Lifetime Learning Credit, and it's where you report some of your American Opportunity Tax Credit if you owe taxes. And then the American Opportunity Tax Credit from Form 8863 on line 29 is where you report that $800 to $1,000 refundable credit that you get paid even if you didn't owe any taxes to the government. Once again, most undergraduate students should be able to claim at least $800 on this line 4 years, or their parents should claim it if they're a dependent. Now, what if you didn't? What if you didn't claim this credit for 4 years because you didn't know that you could, because maybe you didn't even know that you got a 1098-T, maybe you didn't even know what to do with your 1098-T, maybe you didn't hand it to your tax preparer, maybe you didn't enter it into your tax software, or maybe you had scholarships or grants that equaled or exceeded your tuition, and so whoever was preparing your taxes simply decided that all those scholarships or grants are tax-free, and so they decided you don't get to claim the credit, and that's wrong. What do you do? How do you go back and get the money that you missed? So I'm going to show you the 1040X. This is the amended tax return. This is where you put the original information in column A from your 1040 from the last few years. You can go back and fix taxes that are up to 3 years old. So right now we can fix 2017, 18, and 19 taxes, but in just 1 month, after April 15th, 2020, you will no longer be able to fix your 2017 tax return. You'll only be able to fix your 2018, 2019, and 2020 tax return. Okay, so right now, you can go back 3 years and amend those taxes by putting your old tax numbers in column A, including right down here on refundable credits from Form 8863. That's the American Opportunity Tax Credit form. You'll put in column A however much you claimed originally. Maybe you only claimed $15. Maybe you claimed 0. Maybe you claimed 100. but you should have claimed at least $800. And so over here on column C, you will put the correct amount, the new amount that you're claiming, and it will be the $800 or $1,000 or whatever. And you'll put the changes in the middle. Now, this amended tax return is pretty complicated to fill out and file, and you need to include your Form 8863 and any other schedules that you're doing. You'll need to read the instructions very carefully if you're going to do this on your own. Also, you need to know that if you are going to claim the American Opportunity Tax Credit, because you are now going to include scholarships or grants in your income, following the rules of Publication 970, you will need to report that additional income right here on Adjusted Gross Income Line 1. So you will see your income go up for the amount of scholarships or grants that you're going to pay tax on. You'll see the tax go up. You'll see taxable income go up and the tax go up. And then you'll see the education credits go up to offset your tax. And then finally, you'll see your refundable credits go up. And that will be the money that will be refunded to you. You'll want to fill out all of this very carefully, send it over to the IRS, and then they should process you that extra refund that you missed on your old taxes. However, in about 25% of cases, you're going to get an IRS agent who's looking at your amended tax return who doesn't know what's going on. I've already mentioned several times in this video that many tax preparers and CPAs don't know that you can include some of your scholarships or grants in your income and then claim the education credit. And the IRS also has agents who don't know you can do this. So about 20 to 25% of the time, in my experience, I've done thousands of these, you're going to get a letter back from the IRS saying, you can't do this. And that's wrong. You'll have to point out in Publication 970 where it does in fact say you can claim the American Opportunity Tax Credit even if you had scholarships or grants. So, if you don't want to do this on your own, don't want to deal with the IRS, please go check out collegetaxrefunds.com. That's what my business does, is help students claim the money that they missed on their old taxes. We deal with the IRS as well. And once again, this has been a video about what to do with your Form 1098-T, how to claim these valuable education credits. If you have any questions about this, put them in the comments below. Any questions about taxes at all, put them in the comments below, and I will answer your questions or make another video for you. Thanks so much. Have a great day.